Most people online will tell you that you just need to make content, but there's a lot that actually goes into making content. Most of you are thinking that you might want to just go live. I think there's something to be said about planning your content. And so in this video, I'm going to cover the planning stage of actually creating your content. I'm going to give you a full framework to actually understand and see what type of content to make, how you're going to make that, all of those steps. And then the execution stage will be another video, and the strategy part is going to be a different video. So let's get right into the video. I want to first differentiate the word strategy from planning, because those are two different things. When it comes to putting together a content strategy, you've got to think about sort of what are your end goals when it comes to your content. Do you have a membership that you want people to sign up for? Do you want to just give free value and hopefully reap the reward later on? In that case, you're building a brand. Do you have a course, or do you have some sort of a newsletter sign up, or do you have consultancy services that you're actually going to be delivering on from that content? What is the purpose of your content? That's the strategy piece. And I'm going to go into more detail in a video over here, or I think it's over here, where you can actually see some of the strategy things that you need to work through. But in this video, we're covering planning. And so that's sort of the second stage of the process of creating content. Now, this is way before you actually record, and this is way before you go and find a location to record your video. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the planning stage. Why you're creating your content, who you're creating your content for, which also comes from your strategy, and what you're going to be doing when it comes to making your content. So let's get into the why. Simon Sinek talks about why, and he's got a whole book which talks about why, starting with why, and basically working your way backwards to say, okay, well, why are you making this content? And so for me, for this video, I actually wrote down a couple of things that I wanted to have as objectives for this video. I want to help you get a better understanding of why planning is important. I want to help you save some time, because that's ultimately what planning is supposed to do. It's supposed to give you sort of time. You've got to save yourself time in the long run. And also, I'm hoping that this video will help you realize that when you actually plan your content, you become more successful in the long run. Because when you put a plan together, and when you put it together properly, or you put it together in a way that actually makes sense for people, then ultimately, whether the content is for YouTube or for LinkedIn or for Facebook or for Instagram or for Pinterest or wherever you're making your content for those people, for the people that are on those platforms, then your content will perform better because you've had a better plan and your planning stage went well. Those are some of my goals, as well as just giving you some of the resources, some of the questions to ask yourself to be able to make the content that you want to make. So that's the why. The next thing I've spoken about this already is who. Who are you making your content for? And that plays into the platforms as well. So if you're making content for LinkedIn, the question you're going to ask is, well, who are these people? What type of content do they want? Who are the people that you're speaking to directly? And that comes back to your niche. That comes back to your end product, or your goals in terms of your strategy. Like, what do you want to get out of it, and what do you want your people to actually get out of it as well? If your strategy is all about building audience and building brand, then who are the people that are going to connect with your brand, and who are the people that are going to come into your sphere, come into your audience, whether it's a Facebook group, or you want them to subscribe, or you want them to like your videos, you want them to come watch more videos maybe on YouTube, or if we're talking specifically about LinkedIn, it's about growing followers. So if that's part of the goal, part of your strategy, then who are the people who are more likely to follow you? Where are they based? How old are they? All the demographic information that goes into putting a niche together, but then psychographically, like, what are their interests? What are they about? What do they like seeing? And so we'll get into some of those things into the planning as well. When it comes to sort of the content itself, you're asking yourself, well, for this group of people, what do they like to consume? Do they like long form videos? Do they like short form videos? Do they like transcribed content? Do they like podcasts? Do they like long form videos on YouTube? Do they like images only? These are some of the questions that you've got to ask relating to your who, because it's all about preferences, which is again a psychographic thing. is what do they prefer watching, what do they prefer seeing, what do they prefer consuming. So now let's talk about the what, because the what is actually a little bit more detailed than just what type of content. And there's specific things that you can do, certain tactics that you can use online, like going to look at keywords. So that's what keywords are people searching for, what are they looking at online, what are they clicking, and what are they actually going to consume. And there are a bunch of different tools, and I can link down below in terms of different tools that you can use to figure out keywords and what people are searching for. One of them is Google Ads Keyword Planner. One is Ubersuggest, which is by Neil Patel, and one is Keywords Everywhere, which is a Chrome extension that can actually go onto your Chrome browser. We spoke about keywords. What is the title of your video, or what is the title of your content going to be? Because every single blog post, every single video, every single piece has got to have a title behind it. That comes back to the keyword. And so once you've got your keyword and your who, now you create a title that's specifically for those people, and it's got to be interesting enough for people to actually hook onto that title and want to click on that title. And that applies to YouTube, it applies to LinkedIn, it applies to every single piece of content you produce. Is what is the title, what is the hook that you're going to bring people in with so that they actually start consuming your content. If you're talking about Instagram, then we're covering things like hashtags. What are the hashtags that you want to make your content for, right? So speaking specifically of hashtags, is one is what hashtags are you going to use on your content to actually, one, put yourself in that 9 box on Instagram, and also what are people searching for, or what do they look at when it comes to Instagram hashtags, and what they use on the platform to actually go follow. Because there's a lot of hashtags that people follow, and so what you've got to do is figure out which of the hashtags that people are following do you want to fall into. And that also goes back to the algorithm. So it's a question of what is the algorithm wanting, what is it that the algorithm is serving to people. And when you're doing your research, which we'll cover in the next step here, is going to look at those hashtags, figure out what type of content it is that's working for people, what's getting people in that 9 grid, and then working backwards to say, okay, well, if that's the hashtag you want to target, what's the topic, what's the content type, what's everything that goes into actually making a piece to perform in that 3x3 grid on Instagram. This video is not specific to any platform, but I'm going to give you a few more examples as well. Then you've got to ask yourself, what is actually working on the platform that you want to post on? Let's say you go to LinkedIn and you say you want to make a post about a specific thing. Go and search on that word in LinkedIn and go and find out what are the type of content pieces that you want to create on that platform. What's working on the platform right now? When you search on LinkedIn, what is LinkedIn showing you specifically? And I'll give you an example. Like on YouTube, if I had to go and find a specific keyword and put that into the search bar, you'll get a whole host of videos where people are ranking their videos, and you'll get a sense of age. How old is this video? How many subscribers does this particular channel have? How many views does this video actually have on it? And so those will give you indications of sort of what type of video you should create, what type of thumbnail you should create for that video, and also what length the video should be. And you're covering all the what questions as you go through this process. Then when it comes to answering another what question, is what type of video should it be if it's a video that you're creating. For example, there are a lot of different types of videos that you can actually create. You could do a talking head video, which is just like this one. Or you could do a demonstration video where maybe you're showing something to somebody, either a physical product, or maybe you're sharing your screen and you're showing a specific tool to somebody and you're walking them through the process. Maybe it's a whiteboard sort of video where you've actually got a whiteboard behind you and you're drawing and you're using doodles to actually show them stuff. Maybe it's a doodle video and you use a tool like Doodly to actually create the video for you, where you actually don't have to be on the camera itself. Maybe you do just stock videos or stock photography and you're talking specifically to that. Maybe it's a written form piece, and so maybe it's an article on LinkedIn, or maybe on Medium, or maybe on your blog post. And if that's what's more consumed, that's what LinkedIn is sort of pushing, then definitely write an article around that piece, because maybe a video might not be the right way to go. So you've got to think about what type of content you want to create, not only the type of content, but also the format of the content. Then you've got to ask yourself, well, what are the resources you need to actually make this piece? The question is, what are you going to put in the video or the blog post or the post on LinkedIn? What stock videos are you going to use? What music are you going to use? What's appropriate for your audience? And what do you think in terms of what other videos have been made on the topic? What are they using? What have they put into? What's the style of that video? And what resources did they use? If it's product videos, then which products are you going to be talking about? These are all the what type of questions that you need to ask. And then the most obvious thing is, well, when do you want to actually publish this piece? And so that's where planning comes in place. So it's like, let's say I want to do a video for next week, Tuesday. You've got to work backwards and say, okay, well, when do you want to record this? When do you want to actually get the stock footage and all of those things done? When do you want to write your script? When do you want to do your thumbnail? When do you want to actually do the research for and go through this process that I'm guiding you through? When are you actually doing all the planning work? Because in order to hit the deadline of Tuesday, you definitely could do all of it on Tuesday, but in order to really leverage your brain and leverage your time to plan the video properly, to actually get it performing eventually, is maybe using a couple of days beforehand to do a draft, to do a second draft, to do a third draft. Maybe record the first version, then look at it after a day or two and say, okay, well, you can improve on this, you can improve on this, you need to tighten up this, maybe a stock video or maybe a stock image here or there, maybe a screenshot here or there. You can actually work backwards and say, okay, what are the things that you need, which is over and above the resources. So thinking about when all of these things need to happen is also very, very important when it comes to planning the content and actually getting it executed in the best possible way. If you know that you need 4 hours or 5 hours to get a video edited, or you know that you have 2 days lead time for a video editing team to actually get the video edit done, then you plan in advance so that you're always on schedule, so that you can keep that consistency, which all the platforms require, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or Pinterest or YouTube or any of these platforms, they all require consistency. And so the planning actually helps you become more consistent, which invariably helps you with performance, because as you become more consistent, your performance does go up. And if your planning is done correctly and all your research and all of those things are in place, you've got the right titles, you've got the right thumbnails, then you can definitely give yourself a better chance to perform and use your time in the correct manner. The other thing you need to think about when it comes to the when question is, when are you going to promote the videos, or when are you going to promote the content? Because it's one thing to actually publish a post, but then you've got to let people know that you've done this thing. And so putting in a promotion schedule or planning the promotions, maybe you're going to tweet about this particular video that you uploaded on YouTube every 3 days or once a week or once a month or whatever the case may be. It's putting that into your schedule and planning those posts out so that you can actually give yourself a better chance to succeed. One example is, if you've got an email newsletter, then what are you going to write in that email newsletter, which comes back to the planning? And also, when are you actually going to push the email out to promote that video? That's basically what I see as the planning process, and it's a process that I am still working on in my business and also for my clients. It's something that I've put into place from courses that I've taken and also just from me experimenting on my own stuff. I really hope that this video was useful, and I hope I answered and addressed those goals that I had right in the beginning of basically telling you why I'm making this video. And if it was helpful, definitely comment below if I've missed anything, or if you have any specific questions around the planning process or tools that I'm using to actually plan. That's a whole nother video which I'm going to link once I've created that video. But let me know, like, what are your questions down below. If you like the content, definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, like the video as well if you liked it, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you so much.